Hey guys, welcome back to Lively Films with me, Simon. We've got another great show for you this week, and we're kicking off with a brand new trailer for Daddy's Home 2.
Your father hasn't met the new evolved Dusty?
That's exactly the stuff he's gonna make fun of us for, you'll see.
Dear God. Wow. Is that him? Dress is so cool. Yet I can't picture him actually going shopping.
Daddy's Home 2 is the sequel to the hugely successful Daddy's Home, starring Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. The sequel will have Wahlberg and Ferrell dealing with their own intrusive fathers during their holidays and will pick up where the original left off, with hopefully even more laughs. Mel Gibson and John Lithgow have been cast as Dusty and Brad's respective fathers, and Linda Cardellini will be returning to the sequel as Sarah. Daddy's Home 2 is scheduled for release in November. And on the topic of sequels, some big news has been announced this week that Gavin O'Connor has been chosen to direct Suicide Squad 2. Deadline broke the news in an exclusive, claiming that Warner Brothers decided on O'Connor after he pitched his version of the movie and will write the sequel with his writing partner Anthony Tambakis, after it was announced that David Ayer, director of the original, has been asked to focus on Gotham City Sirens, centered around Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I think this is a good move all round because although Suicide Squad was a massive hit, it wasn't great, was it? And considering how much money it made, there was always going to be a sequel in production. O'Connor most recently directed The Accountant with Ben Affleck, and with Affleck still playing Batman, it does make some sense. And hopefully, with O'Connor in charge, the sequel will right a lot of the wrongs that were fairly evident in Suicide Squad. It also makes sense for Ayer to move on to Gotham City Sirens because although a lot of Suicide Squad was a huge letdown, Margot Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn was well received, and so the two of them working on a Harley Quinn movie will no doubt excite a lot of fans. Moving on and making the seamless jump from Suicide Squad to Oliver Twist, there have been reports that the classic Dickens novel and iconic musical is set for a big screen revamp, with none other than Adele playing the role of Nancy. According to The Sun, and so take this news with more than a pinch of salt, Adele is in talks and seriously considering the chance to play Nancy, as she sees it as a new challenge. The remake is rumoured to be a joint collaboration between Sir Cameron Mackintosh and Working Title Films, who worked together on the massive hit Les Miserables in 2012. And finally today we're ending with a review of True Story starring James Franco and Jonah Hill. True Story has recently been added to Netflix and is a psychological thriller based on the murders of Christian Longo. Here's the trailer.
You said write it up.
I said write it up, not make it up.
I did the best with what I had.
You have a future ahead of you, Mike, but not here.
When disgraced New York Times writer Mike Finkel loses his job after writing an inaccurate news story on current-day slave training in Africa, he receives a call that changes his life. After hearing that he's become a victim of identity crime by accused murderer Christian Longo, Finkel sets out to meet Longo and find out the truth about the murders to get his career back on track. Firstly, I'm going to start off by saying that I am a huge fan of both James Franco and Jonah Hill, and would pretty much watch anything that they're in. This film, however, I really struggled with. The plot is very interesting and the performances are really strong, and the fact that it's actually based on a true story would suggest that it's a modern day indie classic, but honestly, it is so slow. Considering that the whole weight of the film is carried by the chemistry of Franco and Hill, it takes about 20 minutes for them to actually meet. And then when they do meet, you assume it will pick up the pace and get to the real heart of the film, but it just sort of carries on at the same really slow pace. I guess the director Rupert Gold has done this to build the tension, but honestly, the film doesn't pick up until the court hearings, which are an hour into a film that's an hour and 38 minutes long. So yeah, it's pretty slow.
I believe we're dealing with an exceptionally dangerous man.
You had a choice of so many stories to tell, and you chose his.
Actually, he picked me.
He didn't pick you. He used you.
We think he's part of some bigger game plan.
This isn't just about me.
As I said earlier, the performances are very strong, with Franco playing the role of Longo perfectly. As the audience, he constantly makes you question everything that comes out of his mouth in a really underplayed, clever and scheming way that leads Finkel into many of his psychological traps. Jonah Hill is quite understated in the leading role. He's not brash or loud, but he's careful, thoughtful and sincere in the role of Finkel. Felicity Jones makes an appearance as Finkel's wife, but is very much a lesser supporting role in the film, with Franco and Hill sharing the majority of screen time.
He's innocent, don't you?
My whole reputation's on the line. Don't give up on me.
Are you really going to be the man who might set him free?
So, what to make of it then? True Story has a great storyline, has good and truthful performances, and is definitely understated. but it really does lack any sort of pace and conviction, honestly, not a pun, to make this into anything more than a 3-star film, which is such a shame because it could have been so good. So I'm giving True Story a disappointing 3 out of 5 stars. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks to everyone who has already subscribed to the channel, and keep getting in touch with us on Twitter at LivelyTV, or get me personally at Harkness1, and let us know if there's anything you feel like we should be reviewing and talking about. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. See ya.